Hello chess fans, this is Rick from Chess to Impress. At the end of this video I will remind you of the giveaway competition I'm running, but first let's play some chess. Anish Giri, the Dutch Grandmaster, is one of the top players in the world, but he has the reputation of making too many draws. He has the reputation of being a dull player. And he gained this reputation in the Candidates Tournament of 2016, when in 14 rounds he made 14 draws. But it was not for the lack of trying, but playing all those draws gives you the reputation of a solid, dull player, which he is not. And in 2017 he promised to play more enterprising chess. And in August, in the Chinese metropolis of Wenzhou, a port and an industrial city, he played a 4-game match dubbed the Xingqiao Cup against Ding Liren, the #1 player from China. It was part of their preparation for the World Cup, which was played in September 2017, which went very well for Ding. He made the final. And this match was played at the same time as the Sinquefield Cup, which drew all the headlines with the return of Garry Kasparov. You can look at the Sinquefield Cup videos. They're from number 214 onwards up to 222, the video numbers on Chess to Impress. So a 4-game match between Ding Liren and Anish Giri. This video is about game 2, where Ding Liren was white and Anish Giri was black. Let's have a look at the game. e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop c4, bishop c5, Ding castled, knight f6 and d3. We're in the Italian opening, the Gioco Piano, which means quiet game. And Giri analyzed this game in the magazine New in Chess, and he said that sometimes black players play h6 here instead of castling to keep the bishop from g5, because that will give a pin of the knight to the queen. But Giri said if one is so afraid of the bishop g5 pin, one should not play this opening. So he castled and Ding played h3. Giri played d6, c3, a6, a4, bishop a7, rook e1, and here Giri says that b7, b5 is the latest trend, played in the spirit of the Ruy Lopez, the Spanish opening, where we often see that move. But he says that this move seems rather impulsive to me. So Giri doesn't really like that move. It was introduced by Levon Aronian. So instead of b5, Giri played h6 here. Knight bd2 from Ding. Bishop e6. Ding took. Giri took back. And now knight f1. And Giri comments here that b4 is the most common move. Most games have gone like this, gaining space, and only later determining the correct square for the knight on d2. But Ding played knight f1, found a place on f1 for that knight. And knight h5 from Giri, which he calls the standard plan. The knight goes to f4, and after queen to f6, the pressure on the f-file can get annoying for white. And that's what we see happening in this game. After knight h5, Ding played bishop e3 and a5 from Giri, taking control of the b4 square so that b2, b4 will not come. Ding took on a7, rook takes a7 and d4, which Giri calls a very direct approach. He played queen f6, keeping the tension in the center, rook e3, and as planned, knight f4. In 2015, Giri wrote a book about Magnus Carlsen's potential successors. In that book, he called Ding Liren lethal with the white pieces, and so far in this game, this is not an example of that. In his analysis, Giri writes, "Here I started to like my position quite a bit. A solid plan is rook a to a8, and then rook f7, and rook a to f8. And he says a funky plan is to play rook a6 to b6 and play on the b file. After knight f4, Ding Liren played h4. White wants to kick that knight away with g2, g3 without losing that pawn on h3. But it does weaken his king side. Queen g6 from Giri with a checkmate threat on g2. g3 as planned, but that pawn is pinned. It doesn't really attack the knight because the queen looks at the king. Rook a8 from Giri, rerouting his rook. D takes e5, knight takes e5, knight takes e5, and d takes e5, and f3 from Ding. Rook a8 from Giri. He said, I played this move on general grounds and only later decided not to fight for the d-file and focus all my pieces on the king side. Queen c2 from Ding. And knight went to h5, attacking the g3 pawn with two pieces. King h2, defending that pawn. And rook f6. Giri writes, I decided to give up the d-file, keep life in the position and introduce some more ideas on the king side. Because after rook d1, he did not fight for the d-file, he played the rook away from the d-file to f8, giving white that d-file. Rook dd3, protecting the f3 pawn, which was attacked twice by both rooks. And all black's pieces are in good positions. The best thing that can be said about white's position is that everything is protected for the moment. Queen f7, and once more, black puts extra pressure on the f3 pawn with three pieces now. And Ding defends with queen d1, protecting the f3 square again. It was a mistake according to Giri. He should have played queen d2, which was the only move in this position. I won't go into the variations that Giri gives. After queen d1, Giri played rook g6, queen e1, and queen e7. Black dreams from a sacrifice on g3 to break open the king side. Here, according to Giri, queen f2 is the only move to fight on, but Ding played king h3, which Giri called a panic move. Because there is the sacrifice. Rook takes g3 check. A sacrifice of a rook for only a pawn. After knight takes g3, the other knight went to f4 with check. And that is a very strong knight there, of course. And the king is open. Black has a strong attack. You cannot go to g4, because then there is queen f6, and you have no defense against queen g6 checkmate. So after knight f4 check, the king went to h2. And now Giri took on h4 with check, king g1, and rook f6. Of course, black is not interested in winning material on d3. The knight on f4 is stronger than the rook. What black wants to do, he wants to win that knight on g3, and then he'll have a winning attack. Rook d8 check from Ding, king h7, and rook back to d2. And Ding may have thought that he could defend this position, but Giri thinks otherwise. Rook g6, rook g2, defending the knight, and h5. This is a key move. Black strengthens his grip on the position. Rook h2 looks like a very strange move, but if white does nothing, black will take on g2, and after king takes g2, the queen will go to f4, and that will win the knight on g3. Let's have a look at this. Let's make a silly move for white. Let's play c4 instead of rook h2. Well, then there is knight takes g2, as I said, king takes g2, and queen f4. Black is threatening to take on g3. Then you will have to take back with the queen, and then the rook on e3 will be hanging, and black will have a winning queen endgame. And if you save the rook, then there comes h4, and the knight on g3 will be lost anyway. So Ding decided to play rook h2, leaving the knight on g3 unprotected. Rook takes g3 check was played, king h1, queen g5, saving the queen, and queen f1. White has avoided an immediate checkmate, but sooner or later the inevitable will happen, as Giri writes. There comes the h-pawn, rook e1, h3, rook d1, queen h5, attacking the f3 pawn, rook d7, and queen takes f3 check. And Giri writes, this is the easiest. In the endgame there's no stopping the g-pawn. That is black's trump card. Ding took, Giri took back, and rook hd2. King h6. And if you now take on c7, then black will win after g5. So Ding, instead of taking on c7, played rook d8, trying to get some counterplay against black's king. King h5. As Giri writes, he's bringing all his pieces closer to the action, and he's going to close the mating net. Rook h8 check, king g4, rook d1, and the last move of the game, knight e2. Here, Ding Liren resigned. Why did he resign? Black is going to play g5, he's going to play king g3, and then he's going to play rook f2 and rook h2 checkmate. Of course, white can prevent that by playing rook to g1. But then after knight takes g1, black is going to win the rook endgame. He is a number of pawns up. 3 pawns to be exact. If white is going to try to harass the black king by playing rook g8, for example, then there is g5. And rook g7, then there is king h4, followed by g4 and king g3. And rook on g7 will not be able to harass the black king anymore. And we get the same variation as we just saw. Great win for Anish Giri, who went on to win the match, the 4-game match, 2.5, 1.5. Nice win from Anish Giri, hope you enjoyed it. A reminder that you can win a chess book. I talked about this in video number 224 on Chess to Impress. You may want to check out that video. I will put the link to it here in this video. It's sponsored by the Mind Game Shop. There's the link. I also will put a link in the description box. Please click on the link, have a look at what the Mind Game Shop has to offer. And also you can check out the Beste Zet, which means the best move, which is a web shop of chess books. I will publish the results of this first competition on Saturday, October 14th, 2017. And at that same time, on that same day, I will launch a new competition because we will do this for 6 weeks. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe to the Chess to Impress channel. Please leave a comment. And if you liked the video, it would be great if you could share it on social media. You also may want to check out my Chess to Progress channel. The link is in the description box. This is Rick from Chess to Impress. Thank you for watching.